April 6th, National Tartan Day, a day of recognition designated in 1998 by the United States Senate to commemorate the contributions of Scottish people who helped build America. In celebration of Tartan Day, the National Museums of Scotland presented a program in partnership with the Ellis Island Immigration Museum, the Scottish Arts Council, and the Clan Currie Society. Together, they brought 4 of Scotland's premier crafters to Ellis Island to share their unique talents.
It's an interesting cultural exchange to see Tartan Day developing.
I think the Americans like the Scots because they're a little bit different. You know, they speak a bit different, they act a bit different, but they're very similar to the Americans, they're very friendly.
I think most of all I've enjoyed meeting the people.
It was only a matter of time before something like the USA Tartan Day idea and the concept of it was going to be as popular as it is today.
The crowds are coming through and looking at the exhibits, and it's been a great privilege to be part of it.
They love the tartan, they love the pipes.
Trained at the Newark School of Violin Making in London, Colin Adamson restored fine violins in Finland and Germany before returning to his native Edinburgh, where he crafts violins today.
I'm a violin maker, so I'm speaking to most people about the woods that violins are made from and where I get my wood from and how long it takes to make violins. I don't think they believe how much time and effort goes into them. It takes about 6 weeks to do the woodwork and about another 2 weeks to do the varnishing. And just the last sort of finishing touches, roughly about 200 hours.
Master kilt maker Robert McBain trained as a tailor while in the British Army. McBain opened the Keith Kilt School near Aberdeen in 1994.
I think there's always been this underlying strong connection between specific areas of North America and Scotland. And not only people from New York, but I've met school kids from California, Los Angeles, who've made some kind of a connection through their family ties towards something to do with Scotland. They're asking about tartans that relate to their surname. You can look through any tartan book, any tartan history archive in any museum in Scotland, and you will always find some kind of a connection with the military regiments. It also builds into this massively complicated, complex history of Scotland and the way tartans have grown up through, the 17th, 18th and 19th centuries,
For Wilma Couper, from the Shetland Islands, knitting is a tradition passed down from generation to generation.
I do fair isle knitting, which is patterned knitting, and I also do lace knitting, shawls and scarves. I started knitting when I was 5. My mother and aunts and granny all knitted, so I just began knitting and copied the patterns that they used. The ladies always had a piece of knitting on the go that they were doing, and they sold it and got money for it, and that helped the income. Americans come to Shetland for holidays, so I'm used to speaking to people from all over the world. They've looked at the knitting and asked questions about the wool and also about Shetland, and a lot of them didn't know exactly where it was.
From his workshop in Dunkeld, Hamish Moore has earned worldwide acclaim for making bagpipes.
Well, I brought over what we make. We make Highland Pipes, and then we make bellows-blown pipes of Scotland, which come in 3 different varieties. When we came to make all these pipes, we copied important historical sets, mainly from the 18th century. I brought various raw materials of leather, some of the woods that we use, some of the horn. I brought stages of the pipes as they're turned, the various stages, and obviously finished sets as well.
A group of Scottish performers assembled on Ellis Island to join in the Tartan Day celebrations. New York fiddler Lisa Gutkin made her Ellis Island musical debut as part of the Tartan Day ceremonies.
About 15 years ago, I came here with my grandmother, who entered the United States through this hall. So for me to be standing and playing in this hall and filling it with sound was an amazing feeling. Yeah. We found my grandmother's name in the registry from 1907.
The first stage when making a violin is you make the ribs. So you bend the ribs round the mould. Once you've bent the ribs, you then take the front plate and the back plate are drawn round the ribs. And that's the basic shape of the violin. Then from there you have all the intricate bits of the arching and the purfling. The enjoyable bit is carving the scroll. It's a bit freer and you can, you carve it with chisels and gouges, and then you put the whole thing together. You're in a hurry to get it finished because you just, you want to know how it sounds, and then you've got to varnish it. Varnishing is probably one of the most challenging jobs, to get the look right, get the colour right, and get a pleasing appeal for someone to pick it up and touch it. And then once it's varnished and finished, then you have to put the bridge on it and the strings, and then at that point you know how it's going to sound. The biggest satisfaction for me really is when a customer buys it and turns around and says to me, this is the most beautiful instrument I've played. That way you feel that you achieved something you've always wanted to achieve, and it just makes you feel happy. It makes you get on to the next one, make the next one as quick as you can.
One of the initial stages of kilt making is sewing in the pleats. Sewing pleats in is a part of the kilt that's best done without any interruptions. You can need to sit down for about 2 or 3 hours and get the whole lot in at once. You get a good rhythm, a good flow. There's always that possibility that something is going to be just that slightly bit different than last time, and you need the concentration and the silence. What an expert eye is looking for is consistency in the stitching. When you're making something with your hands, it's a very self-imposed discipline. It's quite a satisfying thing, knowing that somebody's going to be wearing that for quite a number of years.
I've been working on a Fair Isle cardigan and a very thin lace scarf, the very thinnest wool. About 2 weeks I can knit the Fair Isle cardigan. The scarf I would probably be able to knit in a week. I have Fair Isle cardigans and a lace cardigan, which is a lighter open work cardigan. I have a very thin christening shawl and Fair Isle mittens and different thicknesses of wool, which you use for making different garments.
Becomes so finely tuned into the sizes that you're cutting. When I'm taking the final scrape of the tip of the reed, we're talking about 7/1000ths of an inch, and I can actually register that with my eye. It's certainly a meditation. You can get a set of pipes going so well and sounding so wonderful, and they're just jumping in your hand. They're so in tune and vibrating, and you can feel them jumping about, and put them in the hands of some of the incredible players throughout the world, and for them to appreciate it, that makes it all worthwhile for me.
What these crafters create is more than just a musical instrument or an item of clothing. They preserve a small piece of their culture, which can be passed from generation to generation. The weekend was a time for sharing for the crafters and visitors alike.
When two musicians meet, there can be a chemistry going on, and Lisa's a very, very good fiddler and knew exactly the rhythms and the tempos that suited us both.
You tend to find when folk musicians get together, and Lisa and Hamish are really good players, is they start to not challenge each other is the wrong word, they swap tunes.
It was a great pleasure to play with her. I said to her, it was almost like we've been playing for years, and it happened right at the start. And we played a lot.
Again, it's sharing culture, sharing ideas, and sharing music.
I learned a lot from playing with him. He's got such a sense of the music, and he's got like a strong but delicate style, and he's rhythmically just lovely. he's so solid rhythmically, and it was really special to get to know him.
Music is the language, and if you both know the language, it just cuts through everything and just follows a path all of its own. And she spoke the language.
Thousands of visitors from around the world were introduced to Scottish heritage over the Tartan Day weekend.
These are the drones, and there's a reed inside here. There's 3 reeds in it.
How do you get it to play? How do you get it to hear and
The same air
play
comes
this
out all 4.
and doesn't play this? Play that?
You're playing really 4 instruments, or 4 different sounds come at one time.
Something like this is going to introduce some kids who know nothing about tartans, nothing about anything Scottish, except for Braveheart.
I'm just think it's a dream. I have really enjoyed every minute.
Amazing, just to actually see the site of the Statue of Liberty, which as a kid I've only saw in pictures and television. To actually be in close proximity of it was just a wonderful thing, you know. So the people really friendly. So it's great.
And it's been a great privilege to be part of it.
Years to come, this kind of thing will develop, and it may go into USA Tartan Week, or perhaps Tartan Fortnight.